Hello friends, welcome to Love Medics. If we want to place a thing, first we need a place like shelf, cupboard. Same as our body organs need a space for the arrangement. What is that place? That is body cavity. Body cavity means body cavity or confined space within the body. These are the body cavities. The functions of body cavity is protect the delicate organ and visceral organ, and it allows the organ to change the shape and size. For example, the urinary bladder. It changes its shape, right? It changes its shape and size when it's full and empty. And stomach also. The body cavity helpful for the changing of the shape and size of organs. Body cavity. Two types of body cavity is there. One is dorsal, another one is ventral. The body cavity is divided into dorsal cavity and ventral cavity. This dorsal cavity is divided into cranial and vertebral, and this ventral cavity is divided into thoracic and abdominopelvic cavity. This abdominopelvic cavity is also divided into two types, that is abdominal cavity and pelvic cavity. See here, dorsal cavity, that is divided into cranial cavity and vertebral cavity. This is the cranial cavity and this one is the vertebral cavity. And it is also called as vertebral canal. Ventral cavity is divided into thoracic cavity and abdominopelvic cavity by diaphragm. The diaphragm separates the thoracic cavity and abdominopelvic cavity. This one is the thoracic cavity, and abdominopelvic cavity is divided into abdominal cavity and pelvic cavity. This one is the abdominal cavity and this one is the pelvic cavity. Dorsal cavity. Dorsal means superior and back. So this cavity is located in superior and back side. The function of the dorsal cavity is protect the nervous system, and it is divided into cranial cavity and vertebral cavity. The cranial cavity, which is located within the skull. This is the skull and this is the cranial cavity. The brain and CSF fluids and brain's coverings are all present in the cranial cavity. Next, vertebral cavity. Vertebral cavity is located in vertebral column. This one is the vertebral column. The spinal cord is present in the vertebral cavity. And CSF also present in the vertebral cavity. Ventral cavity. Ventral means in front or lower. This ventral cavity is located in front and downward. During the development of embryo, the trunk, that is called coelom. That coelom is divided into thoracic cavity and abdominopelvic cavity with the help of diaphragm. The organs within the coelom is called visceral organs. This is the thoracic cavity and this one is the abdominopelvic cavity. These are divided by diaphragm. Ventral cavity. Ventral cavity, it contains internal organs. It divided into thoracic cavity and abdominopelvic cavity. The thoracic cavity has pleural cavity, mediastinum and pericardial cavity. Pleural cavity has lungs, mediastinum has pericardial cavity and other thoracic organs. Pericardial cavity has heart. Abdominal cavity. The abdominal cavity has liver, pancreas, stomach, spleen, kidney, small intestine and large intestine. Liver, pancreas, stomach, spleen, kidney, small intestine and large intestine. Pelvic cavity. Pelvic cavity, it has urinary bladder, urethra, rectum are same for male and female, but in female, uterus, fallopian tube and ovary. These reproductive organs are present in female, and in male, the prostate, ejaculatory duct, vas deferens, seminal vesicles are present in male pelvic cavity. The urinary bladder, urethra, and rectum, these are present in both male and female. Other small body cavities are orbital cavity. The eye is located in the orbital cavity. Nasal cavity, that is present within the nose. Middle ear cavity, that is located within the ear. Buccal cavity, that is mouth. Synovial cavity, that is bone joint. Overview of body cavity. The body cavity, that is divided into dorsal cavity and ventral cavity. The dorsal cavity is divided into cranial cavity and vertebral cavity, and ventral cavity is divided into thoracic cavity and abdominopelvic cavity. This abdominopelvic cavity is divided into abdominal cavity and pelvic cavity. Question time. Cranial cavity has brain and CSF. Pericardial cavity has heart, stomach, and pancreas located in abdominal cavity. Reproductive organs are located in which cavity? Pelvic cavity. Thanks for watching.